Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning on for this NEMSIS public training. We have Kevin White with us this morning. He's going to talk about using Tableau dashboards. And Kevin is our lead NEMSIS Business Intelligence Developer. So if you've got questions as we go through this process, please feel free to ask either through your microphone or in the chat box. I'll be watching that. We are recording this training, so if you aren't able to stay for the whole thing or have to step off, we will have this up on our website and also on our YouTube channel for your reference later. So I am going to go ahead and share the screen with Kevin and turn it over to Kevin.
Hi everyone. Everyone hopefully can see my screen? You should see the NEMSIS homepage. If you cannot, please either speak up or send us a message in the chat window so that we can Julianne can help you out. As Julianne mentioned, my name is Kevin White. I am the lead business intelligence developer here at the NEMSIS TAC. I've been with the TAC about, getting hard to count, I want to say about 7 years now. My background, just so everyone knows, some of you, I know you've heard this before, but my background is actually in data analysis and not in EMS. So I've only ridden in the back of an ambulance or in a fire truck by choice. Never needed emergency medical services so far. That may change. I'm in my other life. I'm a dog trainer, specializing in dogs with special behavior needs, and so who knows? I may come across a point in my other career where I dearly need emergency medical services. Well, hopefully not, though. So that's kind of enough about me and kind of a background. Let's get started into why you're here. The NEMSIS TAC delivers our data that we collect in a variety of ways. One of our primary methods of delivery of information out to really all parties, whether you be a state data manager, a software vendor that's producing software for the EMS community, a researcher, or the general public, are dashboards that we provide. And the platform that we use to provide those dashboards is a publicly available product called Tableau, which has been a fantastic product that we've been using for about 5 years now. And we have all of our information all of our dashboards are available from our website, which is why I have that up, and it's this nice tab right here at the top called View Reports. You see there's a bunch of different options below here. There's public reports, that's some of which we're going to look at today. There's EMS agency reports, software vendor reports, that's the community people that produce software for EMS. I notice we've got some people here from Zoll on the call, so those are your reports. State reports are for state data managers or state officials that are authorized by whatever is the state regulatory authority to view that state's information. Federal reports are for individuals or agencies within the federal government. And right now, just so you know, that's really only people within the Office of EMS, within the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, within the Department of Transportation, who generously funds the NEMSIS TAC. The EMS Data Cube is our online data exploration tool, and there's a bunch of different versions for that. We actually have 4 cubes available right now. We have 2 cubes for our older version 2 standard, and we have 2 cubes for our newer version 3 standard. The reason we have 2 cubes for each is we have one that's available to the general public, and then we have one that's just for that state audience as well. And those are really great tools, and I think we've done some trainings on those, and I know Julianne has produced some really fantastic videos and guidance on those tools as well. But today we're going to focus on our public reports. So our public reports are exactly what they sound like. These are reports that are geared toward the general public. They're not restricted in any way. They don't. That means they don't require a login, and they only show information at a general aggregate national level. So if you're not familiar with the NEMSIS data set and some of the guidelines under which we operate, we collect data from multiple states throughout the country and territories. I don't want to leave our generous territories out. But when we deliver that information back to our audiences, for state authorities, we only show them the information that they sent to us. Same with software vendors. And for the general public, we only show things at an aggregate level. So none of the dashboards that we'll be viewing today will allow you to drill into, for example, looking at information within the state of Florida or Utah or Puerto Rico or anything like that. We're going to only stick to the national level. And here at the bottom, you'll see that we have a bunch of different options. So we clicked on that public reports, and then we have to make another set of choices. We have version 2 dashboards, which I talked about a little bit in relation to the data queue, which are our older standard. These are reports that are no longer being refreshed because we no longer accept version 2 data, although we realize some agencies in some states are still collecting. And these are version 3 dashboards, which is our active standard. And this is all subversions of version 3. So that's the 2 versions that we have active right now are 3.3.4 and 3.4.0. And 3.5 is just around the corner for us to start collecting information on that next year. Now we've gone and we've clicked on these version 3 public dashboards, and now we have a whole nother list for us to choose from. It's one of the things that's true of the NEMSIS website. It seems like there's always another list inside of every list. You'll see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dashboards available to the general public right now. And within each, we have a bunch of different links. We have the link to the actual dashboard. Oftentimes, we'll have a link to a user guide, which is an online guide that we maintain that gives you information on how the dashboard was developed, what were the inclusion criteria for all the EMS records we collect, which we're almost up to 60 million right now for version 3, which is kind of exciting. And what of those 60 million qualified for inclusion into that dashboard? And then it goes through some information about each visualization within the dashboard and how it was developed and what each dashboard means. So for example, if we click on our data quality user guide, which is one of the dashboards we're going to be viewing today, we've got a short introduction, and then we've got a description of the dashboard, and then it delves right into each different visualization, explaining where the information came from and what's included in there. So we're not going to go step by step through this dashboard or all of its criteria today, but I just wanted to make you aware of the fact that our dashboards do have user guides associated with them. And finally, one of the other things that we often provide is a video training. So for example, this call today is being recorded and it will go up online. If this call were about a specific dashboard that we were looking one dashboard, then that video would also be linked to right here. So for example, we have one here on performance measures. We have a video for that. Let's delve into our public data quality dashboard. And as I said, this is, because it's publicly available, we don't require any login information for this dashboard, so anyone can get access to it. This dashboard was updated recently with information, and here are the dates right up there. And so this is a national aggregate of the information. The first thing I want to just show you is on how to use our dashboards is just navigating down through. You can see as I scroll over, there's these little tooltips that pop up. And sometimes they provide additional information on what's going on. So for example, up here, that patient information score, 97%, which is nice to see at a national level. That's out of about 150,000 records. And this one, for example, for valid system times is 120,000 records, right? And that gives you, whether you're at a state level or the general public, gives you an idea of what that, what that denominator is, so that you can determine just how important that percentage score is down the line. This dashboard is pretty static. It gets updated once a week. And so while it has a lot of visualizations on it, it's one of our simpler dashboards in terms of its usage, or the things you can do with the dashboard itself. There's different sections, each of which has a little bit of explanatory information and some labeling, and as I said, some of those tooltips in there that allow you to do, but you really can't do much with this dashboard beyond look at it. We'll be getting into the next dashboard that we have will be a little bit more complex. A couple things I do want to make sure you're aware of that are true of this dashboard and are common to many of our dashboards. We often find that people miss the fact that there are these little tabs up at the top that have additional sets of visualizations on them. Been 7 years I've been trying to pronounce that word correctly, and it still every once in a while trips me up. But for example, on this one, we have there's actually 3 tabs that are available. We have this initial one, which is our data quality report, and we click on the data quality graph, and we get other information around data quality. And in this case, what we're seeing is really a different view of those overall scores, just laid out perhaps in a way that makes that information a little bit more digestible to people. And then we have this other view. Get that up there. Data quality graph to date. And this one, in case people are wondering, well, what's the difference between data quality graph and data quality graph to date? They show different scores. What are they? Well, this one is for only the time period that's up here on as date submitted. This one to date is, as it says, for each section listed and currently residing in our registry. So that is for all time. And I can tell you with version 3 for all time really means January 1st, 2017 to the present day. So you can see a little bit of difference. Ideally, whether you're a state or public, you wouldn't want to see much of a difference between the second tab and the third tab in terms of those scores. If you did, that would indicate that there's been a recent change, that there's been some significant change in the quality of the information coming into the NEMSIS tag. Now, after viewing this, you might decide that this is valuable information not only for yourself, but for others, and you want to export it or get a copy of it. Now, you could certainly take a screenshot. That's one way to do it, right? You can hit, if you're on a Windows machine, you can hit Control Print Screen, or you could use in Windows 10, they have that little Snag It tool or whatever screenshot tool you have that as your preference. Maybe push it into a PowerPoint or send it into an email. but we have some better options through Tableau. We have actually at the bottom this little toolbar. We have a couple options here. We have our share, which gives us, and because this dashboard is a little long, what that'll give you is the ability to just copy the URL out, and you can just hit the copy link. And then if I were to bring this into an editor, it would give me that information and allow me to just send that on. Another way that another thing that we can do is we can download. And we have a couple different options for downloading. You see some are grayed out, and that's because we don't allow the public to have every single option. We have an image, so again, you can screenshot it, or you can have Tableau provide you with a really nice complete image of the dashboard. Kind of PDF, which is a nice portable document that you can just send off, nicely formatted, particularly if you want to print this view and hand it off to someone else. PDF is your best option. Or Tableau will generate a PowerPoint slide automatically for you that you could just merge or copy into an existing PowerPoint presentation. If you're a state data manager, you'll have a few more options here. You'll actually have the ability to download it as a crosstab, which is really another way of saying Excel spreadsheet, or that'll be available to you as well. The other option that I want to cover off on this dashboard before we move forward is this full screen. You can see some of these dashboards are pretty busy and they have a lot of information on them, right? And so if we do the full screen, we can get just that full screen of the view. So again, it allows you to focus a little bit more easily on the information, but to get it all on one screen if that's what you really like. Because as you can see, this one scrolls pretty heavily. And so maybe you just want to look at it, you just want to stare at it for a while and ponder the information that's there, then that full screen option is available to you. So before I move on to our other dashboard I'm going to show today, I want to pause and make sure that no one's holding on to a question that they're desperate to ask. So are there any questions at this point? Okay, we're going to move forward. I'm going to go back up to view reports and public reports. Back into version 3 dashboards. And then I'm going to pick our motor vehicle crash dashboard. This has a state version as well for the state data managers that are joining us today, that will allow you to drill into information specific to your state on motor vehicle accident incidents within your state. This is, I think, a phenomenal dashboard, and the level of detail that it provides, but also the clarity that it provides. And I wish we had an opportunity to dive deep into it, because this is one that I think is really fantastic. Looks like we've got some people. Max, how is data quality assessed? Is it more a measure of missing data as opposed to verification of data entered in by EMS providers against another data source? That's a great question, Max. So we don't validate the data against another data source. So it's all internal verification. And if I go back to, I'll go back to that dashboard just so that we have it up as a nice reference, and I'll kind of answer that question for you. So some of this, a lot of this is covered in the user guide about what each of those scores, how each of those scores are calculated. But these are really measures of internal consistency of the data. So, for example, this first one, patient information. If the EMS unit encountered a patient, they should have recorded all of this patient demographic information, right? They should have recorded patient age, gender, all the way down. If they encountered a patient and they didn't enter that information, then that lowers the score. If the record says that they didn't encounter a patient and yet they provided all of this information, that also lowers the score. So if the call is canceled, but then we have age and gender and location, then that seems a little odd, and that's internally inconsistent. And that would lower the score for that record. And same kind of down the line. So I like to say, to some extent they're clinical measures, but they're really measures of internal consistency. Looking at one response to one element versus another, and looking for those logical connections. Max, does that answer your question? Okay, great. So let's get back to that motor vehicle dashboard, so that we can,
yes, come on in.
and so that we can look through that as well. Great. So in terms of this dashboard, in terms of how to use Tableau, there are a few things I want to cover here. As I said, even though I'd really like to dig deep into the data, but we'll have to do that another time. What's different really about this dashboard, this motor vehicle dashboard versus the data quality, is this dashboard is much more interactive. While the data quality dashboard was pretty static, there wasn't much you could do other than look at it and ponder, as Max did, how it's created and what it means. Here we get the opportunity to filter the dashboard. So change what the information is in the dashboard. And we have a couple different types of filtering available to us. These options here across this section here, type, patient disposition, and unit dispatch date, are more, for lack of a better term, your more traditional type of filtering, where you have these little controls, whether it be a drop down or a slider, allow you to vary the information within a predetermined set of values or segments. So for example, this is really type of accident. Say we only want to look at accidents involving bicycles. And I'll give you a little hint in case anyone's wondering. That's whether that's on kind of either side of the accident. If a bicycle hit someone or someone hit a bicycle, it's in here. And what I did was I unselected all, selected bicycle, and then hit apply in this case. And now the dashboard's kind of churned through that choice, and you see that everything has changed. So all the visualizations have changed a little bit. Our activations went down, our number of EMS agencies went down, which I always find interesting, that I guess some agencies have never encountered a bicycle accident. But our number of states and territories stayed the same. If I wanted to look at maybe, let's look at other motor vehicle. That could be kind of interesting. And that could be, for example, ATVs, which are increasingly common on the road. Golf carts, I believe, are in there. Oh, interesting. My session's been restored to a previous state. Also, I shouldn't say, I know ATVs and golf carts are in there. I honestly don't know if the latest fad of electric scooters are included in there or not. I would have to check on that. I know that's been a hot topic in and around Salt Lake, and I know in other cities as well, kind of looking at scooter accidents. Actually, a friend of mine just had to have her jaw wired shut because she fell off an electric scooter. Yeah. And that was kind of traumatic. I think she's finally getting her jaw unwired, in a couple days. So that's one type of filtering that we have available to us. The incident patient disposition is another type of that more traditional filtering. And then finally, we have the ability to vary the dispatch date. And for those of you who aren't intimately familiar with EMS, the dispatch date and time is the date and time the EMS unit, the ambulance, was told by the dispatcher to start getting going. And so that's when the EMS unit receives the call. There we go. Other motor vehicle. I was kind of hoping, I know one of these reduces the number of states and territories. I just can't, for the life of me, remember which one. But I always found that interesting that some states have never had a particular type of motor vehicle accident, apparently. The other type of filtering that we have available to us is what we'll sometimes call an action filter. And what that really means is I can use the visualization or one of these visualizations to filter everything else. So for example, if I only want to look at motor vehicle accidents involving women, I can just click that female, and just as with the those more traditional filters, there's this graying out and pause and a little spin, right, as the dashboard recalculates. And what it's really doing is it's recalculating all these visualizations for all those, millions and tens of millions of records. Well, not tens of millions, really, about 2 million in this case. But it's trying to figure out what are the ones where the patient was a female, and then go through and adjust all the visualizations to reflect that. And again, just as with bicycle, this is where, on either side of the accident, so we don't really have information at least at the national level, as to which side of an accident, whether it's female driver, female pedestrian, or anything like that. But we could, if we wanted to, after this refreshes, we could go back up here to type, right, and pick. And now that we picked female, we could pick female and pedestrian. And that would allow us to see accidents involving female pedestrians. So we could get information, at least at a national level, that way. There we go. Haha. There we go. Interesting. It's about half. Roughly about half, right? Which this is kind of expected, that women make up half the population. I guess they get hit 50% of the time, right? Or they get in accidents 50% of the time. And we have, again, I'd love to delve deeper into this. For example, we have this probability of survival that is based on the revised trauma score that we're able to calculate. But I want to show you more about how to actually use our dashboards. And I want to bring you down to this little toolbar once again at the bottom. The last time, in the last dashboard, we focused on this stuff over here and ignored everything over here. And now I want to focus on that left-hand side of the toolbar, where we've got these undo, redo, revert, refresh, and pause. So I'll give you a little hint. Refresh and pause aren't really very valuable to us, because they're only really useful if the dashboard is pulling live data. And here at the NEMSIS TAC, we update our dashboards once a week, every weekend. So we pull in a week's worth of new data at a time. So these refresh and pause really doesn't do anything for us. So you can safely ignore those. Undo is exactly like undo is in any sort of word processor like Microsoft Word, where it just steps you back through your choices one choice at a time. So if I were to click undo, it would take me back to where I didn't select female up there. And it'll also replay all of my choices as well, which is kind of cool. So before I selected female, I had other motor vehicle was the last action I did. So clicking undo brought me back to that point. If I were to click apply here and select it all, right, that's a new action. So if I were to go back again to undo, whoop, jump to the top on me, undo, and then I'd have the option to redo, right? And so that steps me forward one step. Revert wipes out all of my choices. So as frequently happens with complex dashboards like this that allow you to go down, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the data, sometimes I know it happens with me that I forget all the choices I've made, and maybe I've gone down a blind alley and I want to kind of start fresh. And so I hit revert, and that will take me all the way back to the beginning, as if I just loaded this dashboard brand new and had never done anything from it. So all of my choices are back to 0. So if I'd done nothing. I always find this a little interesting too. Friday 12 to 6 is kind of the hot spot, right? I guess it's 6 hours of time, but that's probably Friday rush hour, right? People are like, get out of my way. I'm going around you, or I'm going through you. All right. Any questions? Additional questions on the dashboards that I've shown, or how to use these dashboards in Tableau, particularly as it relates to the toolbar? If you have questions on the data as well, we're more than happy to answer them. All right. Well, so I'll just quickly review with you how to get to the dashboards in case you ever want to get to them again. And that's just from the homepage, view reports, and then you select the type of dashboard that you want. So again, if you don't have a login, your only option is public reports. If you do have a login, then you need to pick what type of person you really are. Are you a software vendor? Are you a state official who has a login with us? Or are you a member of the federal government? And if you want to, again, if you're not sure what you want, but you want to explore our data, then your best option is actually our EMS data cube, which is a big exploration tool, kind of open-ended, where you can go down any blind alley and dig as deep as you want into our data. I think that's it for me, Julianne. Do you have anything to add?
Are there any questions on accessing public, or the difference between what we open to the public and what we keep restricted for states, agencies, or federal levels? Okay. So Kevin's built some great tools. He showed you those available on that landing page with the companion documents. There's some videos. This will be added to those lists as well. And you're also able to send your public, as you get those requests from the general public, whether they're doing research and need some national information, those dashboards can be really helpful to them, especially for those pre-made visualizations, because they can take that data and make it look presentable for the projects that they're working on.
We do have late-breaking questions. Okay. Arash, well, okay. So need some help offline, no problem. So if you need some help from us and you need to contact us then here's our support page. And for me, I would bring you down to right here. Use and access NEMSIS tools and reports. And there's my email address and my office phone number right there. So you'll be able to contact me directly. Where are you, Julianne? Where are you on here?
I'm hiding. I'm right there.
There we go.
Yep.
There's Julianne. I knew you were around here somewhere. And there's Julianne's information as well. So please feel free to contact either one of us if you have any questions, and we'll do our best to help you out.
We've got one last question we'll take real quick. What would be the method for accessing underlying data of a dashboard?
Ooh, great question, Peter. Thank you. So it really depends on your level of access again. So the rule here is that we can only release data that passed through your hands at some point. So for you, Peter, being an employee of Zoll, we would only be able to show you information that was that passed through Zoll software. And some of our vendor reports, those are available to you, and there's limited access through those reports to underlying data as it relates to the dashboard that you're looking at. So does that's a little sort of long qualifier.
Well, and the national level data, all of those elements that we looked at the dashboards, those are all available in the public queue.
Yes.
So if you're looking for very specific numbers and you want to drill down into even more detail, then as Kevin said before, the cube is definitely your answer there. Everything available in the national dashboards are available in the cube.
Yes. And certainly, Peter, if you can't find exactly what you're looking for in the cube or in the dashboards, you can shoot us a message, and we will do we'll work with you and do what we can to help you answer your questions. And then we do have a question from Ian 4. Can you show how to get zip code or county FIPS code? So Ian, I can't. And well, let me qualify that. Ian, if you are a state official or an employee of one of our certified vendors, we have some ability to give you access to zip code and county information, but it's all about that chain of custody. If the record never passed through your control, if you never had control of the record, then we can't give you access to the record. And so public reports do not contain detailed location information for that reason.
You can drill down a little bit in the public cube with geographical regions. We offer 5 different regions that are made up of different groupings of states, and that's about as granular as you can get with the national level data, specific to the states and territories that you do need to go through your state data manager.
Exactly. So another great question, Peter. So let's say I'm a software vendor who sees the discrepancy between what I see on my end and what is displayed on the board. Could I get raw data to see where that discrepancy is coming from? I think what we would like to possibly, it depends on the nature of the discrepancy, Peter, and working with you to determine the best way to figure out what's causing that discrepancy. So I'd say, kind of realize this is a bit of a hand-waving answer, but it depends. We would like to understand what the discrepancy is, and then we'll help you figure out what's causing it. Okay, okay, Peter. I will be expecting your call.
And please feel free to reach out. We handle questions from our stakeholders on a daily basis. So really, we are here to support you and to help you troubleshoot, help you find the ways to support your constituents, and also be able to facilitate that research for being able to improve our EMS industry. So we're here to help you in any way. We really appreciate you being available for this call. Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add before we're?
No.
Okay. Any last minute questions? I think we've handled a few, and please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help in any way that we can. And as you investigate the NEMSIS tools and data, if you recognize a topic that needs to be addressed in a public training, we're happy to take those on. We just want to be able to provide products that support you in utilizing the EMS data. So with that, thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time this morning, and have a great day.